Coming to the stage is a journalist who has paved the way for not only herself, but for those who are coming behind her in the sports industry. She's an outspoken advocate for those whose voices are underrepresented in sports and politics. In 2018, she was named Journalist of the Year by the National Association of Black Journalists. And in 2019, she was named one of worth 21 most powerful women in the business of sports. Did I mention she's won multiple NAACP Image Awards? That's nice. She is a trailblazer, a contributing writer for The Atlantic, host and voice for this generation. She was truly unbothered. Please welcome to the stage, Jemele Hill. You know what's amazing about that? Not that that's amazing, but the fact that you were like, nah, because obviously the money is good. You spoken to that, but there's so much more to life than money, you know, and the fact that you were in a position to be like, I don't have to do this. Because, I mean, that's where you were is the top for most people who will, I'll deal with it. You know, and black folks, we often have to deal with it for a myriad of reasons. And you were just like, nah. Because when you left, I was like, and then Mike left too. And I was like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, you know, it goes without saying, ESPN as a network and platform has lost some of its prominence. You know what I mean? I think they might have underestimated how much the talent brought to ESPN. This is just my personal opinion. And
well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's a combination. Is also the market changed.
The market changed for sure.
The market changed in the sense that now there's more than one way to skin a cat. Part of the reason why ESPN, and it's still in a dominant position, but I've always felt like if ESPN, you know, slips, be it in cultural relevance or just in viewership, it's going to be death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's not going to be, you know, because Fox tried that. They tried to like come and basically do everything ESPN did, and in some cases much worse. Right? They tried to do that, and that's not how you do it. Because as long as ESPN is a major rights holder, at the very least, you're going to watch the games.
That is true.
You're gonna watch the games. Like,
I didn't even think about that. I guess I was thinking of ESPN as the shows like SportsCenter.
It's all about the rights because
you gonna watch them games on that
you
ESPN
watch
app.
It. And listen, I think ABC is next in the rotation for the Super Bowl. So you saw that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Good God, they just paid them an insane amount of money.
I mean, I feel like they went directly to the Treasury. Just give it to us direct here because the whole transferring is gonna take too long. I mean, they threw
a bag at them.
Man,
but they did it because when you have the Super Bowl, that's what you do. And the amount of money and income they'll be able to generate from that is staggering. They have the NBA. They have every major sports. The only thing they don't have is the Olympics. And that's because NBC smartly is never letting that go. If they don't care what they got a mortgage, like they're never letting that go. Right? But ESPN and ABC have been in the mix every year to try to outbid them. But it's about the rights. So ESPN will never slip to the point of like they're totally irrelevant. But I do think because people have left ESPN and been able to find their happiness, that is what's different. When I first got there, you didn't leave ESPN. That was an unknown rule. But you look at a lot of us that have left and been able to find things that are very gratifying personally, and you still making basically the same money, if not more. And you're much more in control of what you can say yes to. It's worth it. It is definitely worth it. Like because I think to a lot of people, they feel like if you don't go to some place that matches the platform, then it's not successful. I was like, y'all have no idea. It's like the ability to say no is priceless. The ability to say no is priceless. And the fact is, there is not a single partnership I have right now that I need. All of them I want. And there's a difference.
That might be the most boss thing you've ever said. Like, I mean, not ever said, but in this interview, everything I have right now I want to do, I can't say most people are in that position.
Exactly.
Like, that is a luxury to be able to be like.
Tremendous luxury. It's a tremendous luxury, and it's the liberation that we should strive for. The creative liberation is what we strive for. And I didn't understand that for a long time until I got in a situation where that was compromised. And then I got it. And I was like, this is really the deal. And the good thing about my print foundation, my print newspaper foundation, is that television was never important to me on the level where I felt like I needed to be on TV every day. It was something that I could walk away from at any moment and not feel anything. And because I had that mentality, it was not hard at all to walk away from SportsCenter, because once it got to a point where I felt like there was no trust, that they really didn't want us on the show. I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted, and creatively we going in different directions anyway. Why am I there to collect a check?
Right.
I was like, guess what? That contract's still good, and I could be elsewhere. You know. And when I came to them and saying, "Hey, I want to leave," and I told them what I want to do, they were like, "Well, usually we don't pay people this kind of money to do what you are asking," but I also knew it was advantageous for them to not have me on the show,
right?
Because they were still trying to get from up under the barrage of right-wing attacks based off the Trump stuff. So I'm like, to me, we in a mutually beneficial situation.
Right.
You don't want me here any more than I want to be here. Right. So let's just chuck up the deuces and call it what it is. And that's all right.
You kind of sound like Scissor's grandma on that interlude. You don't want me? You ain't got to fool with me. But you ain't going to treat me mean or treat me bad. Like, we just go out of our way.
Right
I mean, she spoke the realest thing ever, but you ain't got to treat me mean.
A proverb.
So you once said in an interview that sports has always been devoid of politics is a lie. Where do you think that lie originated?
I think it originated with people who are very intentional about supporting white supremacy. That's where it originated from. I mean, it's just easy to tell yourself that something doesn't exist because you don't have either the bandwidth or the courage to deal with the issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know that there are people, sports fans, who love to look at sports as just entertainment. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we had a whole robust conversation before we started this about reality shows.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we watch them is because they're a break.
Absolutely.
So, and it feels good to, you know, kind of laugh at somebody else's messiness. It just does. I mean, I'm just going to say what it is, right?
True. It's the truth anyhow.
Yeah. And I think with sports fans, they want to believe that something in this society is a pure meritocracy where color doesn't matter and background doesn't matter. And it's like, yeah, but it's a lie. You know it's a lie, because that's why there were very intentional rules to ban black players from participating. The NFL had it. Major League Baseball had it. Like, literally all the leagues had this.
Yes.
Okay? And you cannot have or even say with any level of credibility that race, politics, gender issues have never been involved in sports, when they often have either led the way in terms of dealing with that issue or highlighted it in a way that you realized it was a real problem. And, you know, so that is why one of the first jobs I took after I left ESPN was working for The Atlantic, because they were hiring me specifically. You know, they didn't have this position before I came along, but I wanted to write about that messy intersection between politics, race, sports, culture, and gender. That's what because to me, that's the power of sports, is that it's one of the few things we still do together. We don't do much else. We're a very segregated society.
Yeah.
But sports is something where you have Laker fans from a bunch of different economic backgrounds, a bunch of different ethnicities and races. You know, they can all find commonality in loving LeBron or hating that the Lakers didn't make the playoffs, or all of that. And so it also presents you with a similar opportunity to bring the world together.
Yeah.
And we've seen that happen so many times in sports. So that's what keeps me wanting to always be involved in writing about sports and commentating about sports on some level.
So talk to me about politics. Have you always been into that? Is it something you grew into as you were older? How did you get kind of where you are now?
Well, I mean, of course it naturally starts as you just being a citizen, you know, because you like, where does money going? Who is FICA? Right? What's happening? So it starts from a very self-interest kind of level. You want to know where your money is going. But sports also does give you a huge glimpse into politics. Like, let's just talk about what happens when a new stadium is built.
Man, that is actually a great way to look at sports and politics.
It is.
I don't want to take over.
Take over.
I just want to say one thing. We lost the Supersonics when I was in Seattle.
You know why?
And it was Clay Bennett coming in. We want the city to pay for a new stadium. City doesn't want to pay for it. Well, I'll pay for it in Oklahoma. Ain't nothing to do with Kevin Durant. We just drafted Kevin Durant. And politics was why there was no new KeyBank Arena or no new Sonics Arena. And then the Sonics, and there's no team in Seattle still because of politics and a billionaire not wanting to pay for where his billionaire team plays at.
Isn't it funny that the billionaire or the ruling class, I mean, they are ones who constantly are, railing about a free market and socialism is wrong. But as soon as they get an opportunity, it's like, oh, socialism for me, but not for you.
Right.
Corporate welfare for me, but none for
Man,
you. Like, oh, okay.
You talk about welfare. Let's talk about subsidies and kickbacks from the government. We talking about a STEMI. Y'all getting full contracts and kickbacks. The doggone. I remember the pandemic, and I get it. The pandemic was 3 days old. Delta, here's $3 billion. Y'all don't have a week's worth of money saved?
Why are you in business?
Why are you in business, Delta? If I got more money saved than you.
You know what they tell? That's what they told people who were getting stimulus checks. Like, you should have planned better. Oh. Oh, we should have planned for a pandemic that's gonna wipe out the workforce. Like, oh no, they say this all the time, and it's unfortunate because a lot of things that happen in politics are distractions from the real issue. Just in this, and the real issue is the concentration of wealth. It is. It has engineered so much inequity in this country, and looking at how stadiums and arenas are built is a perfect example. Imagine the audacity to come to a city and say, we need you to pay for the majority of this and we make all the money. You just be happy you have a team. What? I'm sorry. That math ain't mathing. Right. The Bills are about to build a monstrosity of a stadium of which the taxpayers will be funding at least 80% of that. That's ridiculous. And so when you see these cities, especially like Oakland, that has now lost the Raiders, they lost Golden State, all because the citizens, understandably, they're not going to finance your toy. Right. This is your toy. If you couldn't afford it, you shouldn't have bought it. Okay? All right? And so it is heartbreaking because, unfortunately, it plays on the emotions of fans. And fans want to see their teams, and they want to root for their athletes, and they want to cheer on this sport. And a lot of times it is just literally a hostage situation. They're like, we will move it. And do you want to be the mayor or the governor that loses the team? And that gets them every time.
Wow.
Every time. And it's like, I wish the constitution of people would understand the rigged game. Like, if you stop allowing them to do this, they will be forced to finance their own stadiums, right? And so it's a political process that takes place. The voters have to agree to the tax increase. It's a whole political system. So the moment you buy a ticket to a sporting event and sitting in that stadium, sports and politics are mixing.
Yeah.
It's happening right there, you know? And so I think a lot of times that people, because they want to be optimistic, they want to believe in something, that they don't want to admit that the NFL blackballed Colin Kaepernick.
I mean, can it be any more clear, though?
It's pretty clear.
But it's almost like the Don't Look Up movies. Like, people just convince themselves something's not true when it's very obvious. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, don't think we're stupid. And I get it. It's a good old boys club and all that. But let's not stand on ceremony, Mr. Wade. He went crazy, and they were like, "Oh
I
no!"
love that reference.
Isn't that a good one? It's one of my favorites. Because that's exactly what we do. Like,
what we do.
Colin Kaepernick, dog. You mean to tell me he can't be the third quarterback of any NFL team after just starting?
When you go through the list of names of people who are starting, I mean, Andy Dalton's still getting contracts.
Still cashing
For
checks.
why? For why?
To do this.
For why?
Wide right, XY banana.
For why? It's like when you look at the backups in the league, hell, when you look at half the starters, you're just like, you mean to tell me somebody that took a team to a Super Bowl and then back to the NFC title game couldn't be better than this?
Couldn't be on the field at all with no injury? There's people who are injured. They're like, just let them rehab. Well, like, I get it. Like, you don't want, you're majority white league, majority white owners. You don't want that type of behavior. So you need to send a message that if you do this, you won't play. I get that. Let's just not lie. Don't call us stupid.
Don't lie and say it's a football decision when it's clearly not. And, on top of all that, the other interesting dynamic with that is that it's also about resentment too. The owners resent Colin, and they resent the fact that when he took a knee, it coincided with a presidential election cycle. Okay, this was 2016. Donald Trump used that to bolster his own campaign. He kept banging on Colin. He kept banging on the NFL. and the owners resent it being in the headlines for the wrong reasons. And all of a sudden there's all these stories being written about how, fans, because anecdotally they're hearing fans say, I'm not watching the NFL again if I see any players kneeling.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I'm looking at the ratings like, oh, really? Are you sure?
Stop.
Because when the Cowboys on, I notice your ass is watching. I'm like, you're watching, all right?
Stop.
So there's a resentment factor, and they didn't like the fact that he was able to bring attention to their institutionally racist system. Didn't like it.
What? You are exact. The NFL kind of like, nobody was saying nothing. They wasn't having to hire more than a coach or two. Just enough, Tomlin, Dungy, some combination of them.
Right.
And nobody was really saying nothing until he wasn't even talking about the NFL. He was talking about police brutality. People were like, hold up. But I know you ain't talking NFL because they basically was in the roast laughing and they didn't have their stuff together. It was like, hold on, y'all ain't even got no black coaches. There's 90% black people.
It was just exposing just the depths of white supremacy. I mean, is what he was exposing. So you have that part of it. And as you said, they wanted to send a message to other players. If you dare to speak out, dare to get outside your lane, this is what's waiting for you on the other side. And I think another big reason why no one has decided to bring Colin in, giving him what I call a legitimate tryout and not that sham that happened.
Absolutely.
The reason why that hasn't happened is that they're worried about the rub-off effect. You bring Colin Kaepernick into your locker room, you are suddenly going to have players who have been conditioned to believe God, family, football. Or God, football, family. Some of them football, family, God.
Right.
Some of them football and nothing else.
Right,
Okay,
right.
This is the conditioning of a lot of the players. Is that football is a sport of conformity, and you cannot have people like Colin Kaepernick in locker rooms who are getting players to critically think just by his own way he's carrying himself.
Yeah.
Like suddenly they want to start asking questions about upper management. They want to start asking questions about, well, why are you all have a contract with the police force? Like, what's happening there? What's going on in this city? Like, asking too many questions. And then what happens is that suddenly you have a situation where the slaves are reading. Right. And I mean, that's not to say that, but there's a mentality that exists in the NFL, and I hope nobody takes that literally, but that's what they're afraid of.
Absolutely.
Is that eyes will be open, and so they cannot have that level of influence in the locker room. They cannot have somebody who is bigger than maybe the team that he's on.
Yeah.
Because if they run into a conflict, the people going to be with Colin.
Yeah.
Okay? And they don't want that.
That is true. I was thinking about this with the vaccine thing, which was a lot of class people are taking the vaccine stance on class or politics. The NFL was able to, once they were like, you finna lose money as the team, them people was like, and then people, white or black, if you weren't vaccinated, it was the team against you.
Yep.
And on the NFL, you never want to be on the outside of the team because it was Colt Beasley and black person XYZ. I can't think of anybody black who was
I'm trying to think of somebody. But I know Kirk Cousins. He's not vaccinated. He wasn't vaccinated. Beasley, as you mentioned.
But it was like, because it's the same thing with injuries and non-guaranteed contracts. The reason the NFL can get away with it is because it's the whole next man up thing.
Correct.
And also, if you're gone, it's now my opportunity. If I don't do it, then, well, shoot, you have my back. Well, they've set it up to where if you tear your ACL, before you are off the field, somebody's got that helmet, they're running you on, and the next person is coming in, they're now second. You know what I'm saying? So I think that whole ideology, you got 53 men on the roster, not including the practice team, times 30-some-odd teams. It's a lot of people that you need to keep going. That's why the NBA, that stuff will never fly.
No, I mean, and that's why just in terms of feel and mentality, why it is so different, because that guaranteed contract makes a big difference. And so the players aren't going for certain things, and they have much more power. And one player can change a whole franchise.
Yes.
And so as long as they have that leverage, when they want to discuss social issues, or as they did in the bubble when Milwaukee just said, nope, we're not playing. Right? Okay.
The game is over.
The game is over. That's that. So because of that, that goes down. That can never happen in the NFL.
They would have people in the stands playing for the Steelers that day.
It's like,
so Uncle Rico would have been, this is my chance.
The replacements come to light.
The replacements would have happened in a second.
Yeah.
So we could stay there all day, but we want to talk about you. Tell us about Lodge Freeway Media and how that came about.
So this is a production company that me and my best friend from college, Kelly Carter, started in 2016, I think. 2016 or 2017. I feel like it was 2016. And we did it with the idea that as career journalists, because Kelly covers entertainment, and you may have seen her last week all over the Oscars, all over the ABC, because she was part of their Oscars coverage. But we are career journalists, career storytellers, and I think because we know how to put together a story, we can recognize good stories. And so we wanted to get into film, TV, and digital production. And it's been great. I mean, it's sometimes funny. I mean, Kev, you've been in LA long enough to know this, is that sometimes it's the idea that you don't think will be all sellable is the one that sells. Right? It's like, it's so subjective. It's like, it's so weird. It
really is.
Yeah. Or the idea you feel like, I got a little more to flesh out. And then that's the one they love. And you're like, then the one you have like invested your time, energy, deck looking all perfect. That's the one they're like, we good. You're like, what? So we had this idea that we wanted to do a sitcom based off our 20 plus year friendship, but not just about our friendship, but about sort of a common experience that we saw among our friendship group. Black women are the most educated group in the country. Clearly, politically, Black women have just sort of become the thermometer for politics in this country.
Yep.
And so you have a point where Black women are really seizing their power, and a lot of Black women had become the breadwinners of their families as well. And so we called that new money. Right. And so because it was funny because a few of our friends were running into situations, what we call new money situations. Like a friend of mine, she wanted to get her grandma car service to a funeral in Watts. And she couldn't find one because nobody trying to go to Watts. I was like, that's some new money right there. Like, you really was gonna get a car service at your grandma Watts? Okay, so but we're running into these situations where affluence is possible. Yeah. But we still are kind of saddled with these family dynamics, relationship dynamics. So we wrote out a one page to do a series about it, and we showed it to Gabrielle Union, and she loved it. And so,
amazing.
Yeah, so she loved it. And we were like, man, we didn't think this was going to actually sell this fast. Like, this happened. And so, she already had a deal with Sony, and we took it out to people, and Showtime, they bought it. And it was really surprising. And so, we have a full slate of things that, we're developing, and we thought this was going to be something that we did after our ESPN careers were done.
Right.
But, partly thanks to Donald Trump, my timetable got moved up a bit. So I was like,
that's super exciting.
Yeah. So now we, it's great because it does sink in again with what I've done my whole career. I mean, the root of journalism is telling the story. Yeah. So this is just a different platform to do that.
Absolutely. We're gonna let you go soon because I didn't even realize we're about to be an hour and a half in. I've just been chopping it up with you. I just been chopping it up with you. I don't want to hold you. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about you?
That I'm angry. But I think Black women we routinely hear this all the time. I think people think I wake up and have my fist raised and automatically think of 10 ways that white people piss me off and just go, the rest of my day is like that.
Right.
What they find if they hang out with me or get in a conversation is that I'm very laid back. I'm very silly. And
you love Married at First Sight?
See what I'm saying?
I didn't know until you came
Married at First Sight, Love and Marriage, Huntsville. I mean, I'm all in.
I just imagine you at home in pajamas watching Love and Marriage Huntsville be like, girl, I know you're crazy.
Listen, I got my stories, for real. Because I watch Young and the Restless every day.
Oh, yeah, literally.
I DVR it every day. Like, I'm behind, so I have like 2 months worth. But like, I marathon it at least twice a week where I go through. I was like, ooh, Phyllis, you so trifling. Sitting up there. I am such a grandma. Like, people don't understand. I am a grandma.
Hilarious.
Yeah, like I mean, I do. I think that people are generally surprised I'm so lighthearted. You know what
Right, right.
Because of course on Twitter I can be serious and Instagram, but I have a lot more silly moments, and so I think people are generally surprised by that. And another question I too often get is, do you hate white people? Which I think is hysterical on his face. Like, that's so odd that your mind would go there.
Right.
All right. And so, like, I just think it's just that people think I'm just super serious, and I'm not.
We've been having a good time. I just want to say, I think it's so amazing just watching from ESPN to now and where you can go in the next 10, 15. Honestly, the sky's the limit. Really, the world is your oyster. You can do really whatever you want. Of the things that you are doing, what is the most exciting part about having this, open freeway to explore creativity and storytelling in all these different ways?
It's the freedom. It's the liberation. Honestly, that's the most exciting part, is being able to really determine what I want to do, to wake up every day knowing that I'm doing something that I actually want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We all, as adults, it's just part of adulthood. There are things you have to do to get to where you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of that, but the things I'm building now, to me, are far more important than maybe some of the awards that I've won in NAACP, in case you forgot.
I didn't know if that was going to come up again, but it's good to know. I will never not campaign again. I will campaign till I win or lose, but I will never not campaign again.
That out there. But no, it's like the purpose behind everything I'm doing is very clear. Like, one of the things I'm building now is a network for Black women with Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
My podcast is Jemele Hill is Unbothered, building out the Unbothered network, which will feature Black women podcasters and Black creatives behind the scenes. So, because it was really important to me to create a space for us. Now, I don't have everything figured out about Black women.
Sure.
Despite being one, we complicated as hell.
Right.
Okay, we are. But I did want to build a network that showed our nuance, our vulnerability, the full scope, or as much of the scope of who we are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times you hear about Black products that are not run by Black people. I was like, no, this is going to be run by Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's me, it's my head of content, Christina Tapper, Ashley Hobbs, who is a creative producer. Like, it's all Black women.
Yeah.
And that's who we're trying to reach, that audience, because as you know, the podcast audience is huge.
It's huge.
They don't have, I think, aggregated offerings for us.
No.
And so I wanted to build a space for Black women. So when I think about doing things like that, even though there are a few times a week where I'm like, this network gonna kill me, because it's a lot, because I never, this phase of my career, it became about entrepreneurship, and I don't know how that happened. I'm a journalist. I hate math. Science sucks. Other than medical science, medical science is great, but me actually as academic study, I was terrible at science. Terrible. Math, no. And I'm like, why God? Why me, God? Why did you put me in this position to where I gotta add and subtract? Like, that ain't for people. That ain't for me. So it's interesting to take this step, and for me to be in a position of ownership with so many things. But I realize that is the gateway to empowerment. That's the only way we could change the dynamic. I don't really think Hollywood as an entity, the entertainment industry, I don't think it's really changed. I think what happened is we stopped asking for permission. That's what happened.
That's
right?
1,000% true.
Yeah, a lot of us did like what you did. Mm-hmm. You did your own thing, became your own entity.
You can't tell me no if it's mine.
Exactly. Right? And even though this was not a step I wanted to necessarily take, because, being in charge of people is something. But
man, what you talking, Jemele Hill? Kevin is bothered. I don't know. Jemele Hill may be unbothered. Kevin is bothered.
So that is management and all these other things that, like, man, I thought I got into this to tell stories and to be a journalist and all this, but I think it's part of what creatively makes everything work. And so building this network, I wanted to be able to leave something behind that would be permanent, or to let somebody else who wanted to do something similar or thought about it, to let them know, yes, this can be done.
Yeah.
And it should be done.
Yeah.
The Unbothered Network should not be the only network for Black women.
Absolutely.
I hope there are other networks that are born out of this once they see our full offerings of what we have. And I guess, once you've been able to do a lot of cool stuff, and at some point it's just really not about me anymore. Like that's the other things are nice. It's cool to go to cool parties and great events and all that kind of stuff. Now, see, you talk about me and NAACP. I ain't never been to an Oscar. I mean,
I was up in there.
You were up in there.
I was on the red carpet.
I'm like, God, I see what you've done for others. Can you do that for me?
I'm going to hit my people and be like, yo, Jemele want to get in, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Let her go see.
I'm out there, and Jemele's like, you know me, Kev? Tell him you know me. Tell him you know me. VIP, tell him you know me. So I have not been, but no, I mean, like, it's cool to do that kind of stuff, but I think our legacies are only as good as the shoulders we stand on. So
and you got some shoulders that people are standing on.
Yeah, and I stood on many, still do, and so I'm only paying this forward because I feel like if I don't put us in a better position than what we were in when I got in this business, then it just kind of was all purposeless. Though when you asked me earlier about being the only Black female columnist, sports columnist in North America, the shame of it is that I haven't been able to see that improve.
Right. I was literally thinking about it after you said it. I was trying to think after it was you, I couldn't think of anybody.
Yeah. I mean, there was a Black woman who became a columnist at the Orlando Sentinel. She took to my spot after I left. But she left after a little while and transitioned into another industry. And so I look at that and I said, that's the thing when you're working for other people, you can't create the space.
Yeah.
And so now
true.
I can create the space.
Create the space.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to let you go for real, Jemele, but after
so
these 10
you say. Okay.
This is the Kev's Top 10.
Ooh.
We ask you these 10 questions.
This is where the controversy happens. I know it.
All we ask is that you be honest. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Number 1, who's your favorite person?
My husband.
Oh, bless it.
My husband,
We're going to get you on our podcast. We got a book coming out called Marriage Be Hard, September 13th.
I think I saw that.
Did you pre-order?
No, I didn't pre-order.
Right, you got time today.
I got you. Okay.
We're trying to get New York Times bestselling. We're trying to get New York Times bestselling. All right, number 2. What's one of your happiest moments?
Oh, wow, that's a big one. See, gosh, now you're going to have me sounding. I mean, getting married was. I mean, I got married in 2019, and because it was November of 2019, it's a couple months from when the Panorama started. So I always think about how grateful I am that we had a massively fun wedding. And then we honeymooned for a month, and it was
a month?
Oh, it was everything. So just, I guess, going back in recent memory, they always say with these questions, you should say the first thing that came to mind. So that was the first thing.
That's good to know. Okay. What was one of your saddest moments?
I would probably say it's not one moment, but I would say my mother's a recovering addict. And so I think seeing her at times, like at really low points, was hard. And, I had a bit of a difficult childhood. And so, but I'm thankful for it because it prepared me, later on for challenges I faced. And hence why a professional challenge, while a challenge, I put it in perspective to the challenges I really went through growing up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can solve this. I couldn't solve that.
Yeah.
All right. That's something else. So I think seeing her go through that, coming out on the other side of it, hence why she's the strongest person I know, was really, an incredible transformation. But, at its rock bottom, it was bad.
Okay. Grits, salt and pepper or sugar?
Oh, salt and pepper. Salt, pepper, cheese.
I figured from the Midwest.
Oh, every time you post. No. Don't think. Every time you post this blasphemy about sugar and grits, I'm like, who raised him? Who raised this man?
Black people are not a monolith. All right. Sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie? All right, fine.
You know it's sweet potato.
It was such a strong.
Pumpkin pie tastes like a boot. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Anita Baker or Patti LaBelle?
See, you wrong for this. But I'm going with Anita.
Because she's from Detroit?
Because she's from the D. But that's not the only reason.
Okay.
Too. Like, Maybe my most controversial music take that I have is that compositions. I think I said it was better than Rapture. I think that's what it was.
Really?
Listen,
you might be the first person I've ever heard say that.
Y'all don't know about that. Y'all sleep on compositions. Compositions? Man, let me tell you. Rapture is amazing. It's a masterpiece. Compositions, no skips.
I'm gonna go back and listen.
There's
no skips on Rapture.
Look, no skips on compositions.
Okay.
That's the one with fairy tales on it, by the way.
Favorite black saying?
Favorite black saying? Oh, maybe what you not gonna do.
Oh, maybe nobody said that yet. What you not gonna do is
we just break it down.
Quintessentially black.
It's quintessentially black because one of the multitude of reasons I love black people. We will tell you what we not gonna do, even if you paid us to do the things that we're telling you you're not gonna do. Right? We'll be on our job and tell our boss, like, I'm gonna tell you what I'm not doing. You'll be like, dang,
my job. First of all.
Right. I ain't doing this, that. You're like, but that's literally your whole job description, but I'm not doing it. I'm like, damn, go on, black
really
people.
Will tell our, nah, man, what you not going to do is sit up here and tell me what I'm finna do.
Right. Exactly.
That's what you're not going to do.
So it's like, what you're not going to do is just a whole, it's just a black proverb.
It is.
You know? It just is. It's a black proverb.
All right. What excites you?
Creativity excites me. Mm-hmm. You know, building things excites me. So yeah, okay. Those are the things that excite me.
What bores you?
Staying complacent bores me. It's being stagnant, settling. That's boring.
Got it.
Yeah.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Helping others. Servitude is what I want my legacy to be.
Ooh, that's good. I'm gonna steal that on future interviews.
All yours.
Of myself. Ladies and gentlemen, Jemele.
That's
Hill,
it. I survived.
You survived. Controversy free. She doesn't come down to the studio.
Watch that compositions take.
I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna listen to it again.
Vibe with it.
I now love Anita Baker my whole life.
I know. I'm going to see her in Vegas.
I want to go so bad.
Oh,
I'm shooting during that time, but I'm trying to make it. Them tickets be gone. Like literally the moment they come out, they're sold.
It was gone. I've been fortunate enough. I saw her at Radio City Music Hall years ago. And she sounds exactly like the album.
Perfect.
She's just a perfect vocalist.
My childhood in a voice. Ladies and gentlemen, Jemele Hill, where can they follow you? What should they look forward to?
So, I have a very complicated social media handle, Jemele Hill. Very complicated. But yeah, they can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. It's all the same. I don't really do Facebook much anymore.
Nah, I don't think
every now and again.
My grandma does it all the time. My mom is a big fan.
But you know, if you want to get into elders tea, that's where the real
because they don't know where they're posting stuff. They just comment where the picture of you. I post a picture of my grandma. What we doing for Thanksgiving, Grandma?
Not
why are you asking that on the picture of my comedy show thing?
I love it because
why you didn't answer my Facebook? I want to know what Thanksgiving. It's April. Why are we talking about Thanksgiving? My grandma can't rest until Thanksgiving for the year. Whose house are we going to and where is it? Because I got to get my.
She got to get her outfit together. No, my friend of mine told me this story, and it's so on brand with what you just said. But she had posted about something that had nothing to do. It was a professional thing, and one of her relatives, older, was like, such and such dead. And I was like, wait, what?
That's their one right there. He done passed.
It's like you left this on the comments.
This post says, what's your favorite Outkast album? Ronnie gone. Grandma.
Like,
why? They don't care what you post. I need to give you this information.
They do not care.
Call you. My grandma, no lie, this is not even a joke. My grandma will comment on my Facebook, say, call your mom.
Yeah. And now the world sees it, and they like, what's wrong with his mom? Is it okay?
Why are you saying this here on my KevOnStage? This is my work Facebook. Hey, call your mama. Why didn't you answer me? There's 1,000 comments on this random video I made. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Jemele Hill here coming to the stage. Thank you so much, Jemele, for coming. I was so excited. My wife was like, hit her up. All she could do is say no. And then you hit me back. It was like, yeah, I'd love to. I was like,
of course. And by the way, thank you for adding to my street cred. Because when I told friends I was coming, they were like, oh my God, I love him so much. Him and his wife. And I was like, you don't even get that excited about me. But okay, I'll pass it it along. It's good.
I'll pass it
I will,
along.
yeah, because my makeup artist, Tony, she was just like, oh, my God, I love them. Make sure you tell them. So, Tony, I told him. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Coming to the Stage featuring Jemele Hill. If you're watching this with ads, it means you're not watching it on the KevOnStage Studios streaming service where you see this ad-free, unedited, and all the like. But, find it wherever you find other podcasts, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.